Okay, let's start with the DAX and let's look at the daily first. I've got my weekly and daily charts out. Let's take that away. So here's clearly the reversal. So we were in a channel until early August, downward channel. There's the long-term channel. Let me see, can I improve this? I think I might be able to improve this. What I've done is I've drawn this channel at the high and then copied it and dropped it down. So let me take this area away now because that is dealt with and gone. Let me copy this one. So you can see we're in two segments, two halves, pushed up into the end of 16, got bought mid-Feb and formed that channel formed this channel from October highs to February lows. Just looking at the daily DAX for those of you who just joined us, and let me just double check. Yeah, I have got recording on. Looked okay up here in July this year and then popped out, came down to support, put a reversal bar in, or a sell signal in on the 20th of July, and then started to come back to the bottom of the channel. So here we are, just sort of in no man's land, I have to say. If this is the new channel we are going to compete in, then we are failing and drifting. If I put the MACD on, you will note that, whoops, didn't mean to do that, I meant to do that. Or in fact, what I need to do is that. So we had divergence up here, new high in the charts, lower high in the MACD in May, created quite a downdraft, selling may go away, so that then reversed, or came to the bottom of the channel in August, and here we are just at the top of the channel with a high MACD reading. So we are trending higher but meeting a lot of resistance. So let's now go to the weekly. You can see this 955 was the high of June. We had a bullish close last week. We did close higher, but in quite a shallow level. So I think at the very least we need some kind of pullback. Let's count Elliott. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've completed a 5-wave move. I'll use a white pen. So we now need a 3-wave correction. So 1, 2, 3. So I think it's likely we could come back down to this level for the support. I'll do it more accurately in a minute. I think it's likely we will need a pullback with this highest MACD. Previous high counts have created downdrafts. So even despite this bullish move up here, I think we do need a correction. And that is okay. We've had a quiet day because the US has been off, US and Canada. But nonetheless, that is struggling. So let's fib it. Let's fib this last move and see if that throws any light on where we are. So I'm going to take these highs, drop it down to that August low, pull it back, and you can see we are just sitting up there nice and high on 2017 highs. Basically created a new high, and now we are just pulling back. So I think we need a pullback to support, and I think support is about 850. Now we may not come down to 850, we may just hover around here, close above 945, 950, and then push up into 13,250. Let me get rid of that. I think the most likely scenario is we'll at least test 900, but I think 850 is more realistic. Okay, so I think 850, if we see 850 and get a buy signal, then that's where we need to get long. If I drill down to a 60-minute chart, you will note that we were pretty shallow last week. 850 to 13,000, so 150 pip range. So we have a trend line coming under here, which we are just about holding. This dotted line is Sunday's open. Now, I talked to you a lot last week about Sunday Open and in the weekend video. So if we 850 is last week's lows. Let me just put that in accurately. So I think it's possible we could see a retest of that of last week's lows. That would bring us in contact with the 200 moving average, and then potentially give us the next leg up. Let's just talk momentarily about the Sunday Open. This area here on the light green box is Sunday's Open for 2 weeks back. So there's the open bar. So we opened here, closed here, and the first hour of Sunday's trading, we dipped underneath it, closed above it, went to the high, went back down into the box, and then broke out. So if we get the similar sort of scenario, that means we've got, this is the previous week's support up here. Let me draw, I can't draw with this pen. Hang on. So the support area is here. There. So if we are going to be bullish, we need to close above this 965. Let me draw that just a little bit more accurately. So I'm marking midweek support, Wednesday, Thursday support. So if we close above 965 tomorrow, and we can close above 13,000, we're off to the races. Well, we're certainly going to get a move up, put it that way. So that's how I will leave my 60-minute chart. So a drop into 930 may get, if that holds, then that's a buy area. Otherwise, look for a lower number. Like I said, anything between 850 and 900. This low here midweek, if I do the same thing with this time last week, that is the high and low of the first hour on Sunday's trading. And so you can see why I'm putting emphasis on it, because so Germany was off on holiday on Tuesday, reunification day. Came back down to the high of the the open of the the high of the Sunday open bar, and started to push back up in small waves. That's why I think this area here is going to be crucial. So we got 200 moving average, last week's lows. So we've got three areas that could help us identify the main pivot. So let's wait for the nearest one. I think that's 9. Hang on, let me just check what that is. That is 928, 925, 928. I think, given what the high level of the stochastics in the daily, and the fact I've got a couple of lower closes in the daily chart, I think these lower levels are likely to be here. I think 850 or 890 is much more likely to be hit, but I could be wrong. Okay, let's do the same with the Dow quickly. Obviously the Dow is off, US is off today, and here is our open. Tell you what, I will use that, I will copy that. That's the high of the first hour. So at the moment, obviously the cash market was closed, but the futures market is holding the Sunday range. So if we come into tomorrow and see 700, 720, that may well get bought and give us a start to allow us to head up to 23,465. Well, that's quite some distance off, isn't it? Where do I get that figure from? I get that figure from this trend line, the high of March and the low of the election bar, the election low. Yeah, so if we crack here, if we do give way, then next stop is going to be 22,400. Because we have got some resistance, we've got a lot of potential need for a pullback here. Let me try and draw that a little better. We are very high, and some of these bars are actually quite feeble. some of these pushes were coming up on low volume, so be wary of this market. Let's look at the weekly on this one. There's a good close above that area here, so we've broken out this funnel. So a pullback to around about the 500 is an obvious pullback. Okay, and we'll talk about scalping in a minute. So all of you in the room have been through scalper scores. We'll talk about scalping in a minute. I'm just looking at the big picture for now. Let's flick across to the pound. This is a buy signal for me in the pound. There is the channel created from March lows, June lows, little dip underneath it mid-August, and here we are sitting on that channel, bottom of that, closing above the channel. That's a new low, close above next bar. That's a buy signal, pure and simple. Where are the buy signals? Other buy signal examples I'll show you. New low, close above next bar. New low, close above next bar. New low, close above next bar. So there's 1, 2, 3 reversal signals here. This is an obvious one because it's a little downward wave, huge engulfing bar, pauses for a couple of days on a pullback, and then starts to move. Ultimately, new high, closed below. So there's a sell one. So this is buy one, B2, B3. We have, what have we got? No engulfing bars here. No, there's no actual sell signals there. Little reversal bar there. Engulfing bar there. Engulfing bar there. So it's S1, S2, S3. Engulfing bar there. Reversal bar there. Okay, so you get the picture. In terms of Elliott, what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So we are at the start of the potential next move. So a pullback in this one might take us into 390. All right, let's have a look at the weekly. We bumped into Brexit close on the weekly, up there at the highs. There's the Brexit bar. That was the close on the week of Brexit. And we just recently hit the low of that Brexit bar. Now we have this trend line coming underneath, and we've not touched it yet, but 3 weeks of selling, 3 weeks of lower closes. Back into the support, back into the breakout areas here. So there is a legitimate weekly setup, because if I bracket these weekly bars, you will see we are been a little bit too generous with them. Let me just try and do that again. It's better. So last week's low just closed above this area, this zone. Okay, let's quickly move into pound yen. There's the trend line. October 16 low, April low, June low. Now we dipped out of it in August, and now we have a buy signal here. New low in this little run, close above next bar. Okay, short move, engulfing bar. So let's see if we get a pullback and then get at least back to 145. This is 145, which is a good 200 plus pips to get back to the resistance. Okay, talked a lot about the euro yen last week, particularly in the first half of the week. I think this is a very bullish consolidation. What's a bullish consolidation? A bullish consolidation is where you have big momentum to the upside, and then you just, once it gets too hot, too high, and starts hitting fib levels, it drifts back and just waits until it comes in contact with this trend line. We've done that, we've touched the trend line. We have a very little buy signal there. It's Sunday, sorry. We have an inverted hammer on Friday, and higher close today, narrowly higher, I admit, right on the trend line. So the Sunday open was 205, so if we see, which is literally only 30 odd pips underneath us, so I would look for a pullback tomorrow to see if we can start to make our way back to 135. Okay, so my target on that this week is 135. Quick look at the other ones, then we'll talk about scalping. Much cleaner buy signal on the pound Aussie. That's a pullback at 892. 70 pips under here. Weekly looks as if we could come and see 173.80. And Euro Aussie, talked about this one last week as well. This one's not giving us much of a pullback. On the weekly, however, we are smacking right into resistance. We're close to the trend line. So I would, if I was going to trade anything, I would definitely, so the pound overall to me is stronger. The pound is the bars we've had on the pound pairs has been much more significant than the bars on the euro pairs. So pound yen and euro yen and pound US, so pound US, pound yen are potentially better buys than the euro pairs. 750, 760 is a potential buy on that one. Right, let's look at, anybody got any questions so far? Otherwise we'll talk about scalping now. So we've talked about how I think the DAX is going to suffer from a stronger euro. The DAX and euro are normally divergent. The stronger, it goes for any current country, any industry, any if a country's got a strong currency, it increases cost of imports and hits their bottom line in their industry. So that would suggest that we have got further room for a drop in that DAX. Let's see, just a quick look at the big picture on oil and gold. Oil, that's harder to call because the US was away today. So, but I think it's likely we'll see 48.70. That was a sell signal on the weekly, a new high engulfing bar last week. So I think the oil at least needs to see 48.50, I think, and gold. I think Friday's gold signal was decent. I think 1272 is a buy area in gold, I think. So I'm going to look for an entry in 1272 to see if we could potentially push back to 1340. Right. Anybody trade today? Anybody take a trade today? Okay, so here is, let's just look at the 15-minute chart alone. Let's go back to the subject of the anchor chart. And this is gold, isn't it? Let me just come back to DAX. I meant to pull DAX up. This is better. This is it. Yeah, DAX short, good. Nice short position. So on just the anchor chart, the top one of the inner zone was 978. So this being the inner zone. So either side of the 50%. So we just peaked out the top and dropped back in, and here we are, surprise, surprise, we've dropped back to Friday's support at 955. So I hope we get some clean charts tomorrow, because on the 5-minute chart, this 5-minute chart looked good until right, okay. So there's the German Open. Here is the London Open. So once the whole European market was going, we pushed up into resistance and immediately failed. So that's one way you could have avoided buying into this, just by being a little bit more patient. And then we started selling right at the top of the ceiling of the range. We dropped, pulled back into the ceiling of the range, and then we got the move. So the main move was about 9:30. That was Friday's close. We just dipped under Friday's close. Started to try and pick up from Friday's close, and then ultimately ran into 980 and then back down to Friday's close again. So you can, if you're just trading on just a 5-minute chart, you've got Friday's resistance over here. You got a drop into the zone and selling at the ceiling. Good place to get short into the ceiling. And then you got the gap fill. And the gap fill comes just before 10 o'clock UK time. So clear, logical moves. Let's now prepare this for tomorrow. And so that we can come into the session and get going. Decent close, bit of short covering. So I think I think you know what I'm going to say. Any pushing to 978, 980 tomorrow is a potential sell with our anchor chart. I'll adjust this if it does breach this overnight. But in the meantime, yeah, so any push into this part of the zone could be an opportunity to sell. On the 60-minute chart, we talked about potential for 895 and 850 holding. So if we push higher and then sell, you can see there's the 900 mark and there's the 886. So 850 would be, it's just obviously not far off here, would actually be off of the 15-minute scale if we do get very bearish tomorrow. Euro pound yen was good. Anchor chart. We started the morning. Where are we? So this was the first London bar here. Pulled back into it at 10 o'clock, just dipped underneath out of the London bar at 10 o'clock and then ran very close to the 161 extension, all bar a couple of pips. We're literally 2 pips shy of a retest of the 161 extension. Back to the top of the range for a fade, and we faded from 785 to 825. Very clean. I hope we get that sort of cleanliness tomorrow. Lovely little fade here at 10 o'clock. Picture perfect. Very narrow range. So from, if you're around at 10 o'clock, or hope if you took the break and tucked your stop away, which is a very tight stop, you would have got something like 100 pips if you'd have tucked it away and just put a target shy. I always put my targets just shy of these key levels if I am going to try and get a big move. Anybody trade the pound yen? Euro yen was nowhere near as good. Clean nonetheless. Nice close. We had the previous day's high and the 200 above us. A lot weaker, nowhere near the kind of move we got from the pound US. A lot more congested. Still, I've got the 200-day moving average and the 60-minute chart sitting above us. Okay, let's mark this one up for tomorrow. Let's look for a level based on this chart to see what we would look for. So if we, this 205 is a Sunday open. So I would love to see this 205. It's not that far away anyway. We might see it overnight. They might pick it up and run with it overnight. Unfortunately, that can happen, which will leave us a bit potentially sitting on our thumbs tomorrow, but I hope that doesn't happen. Right, there's the close. 226, 20 pips above the Sunday open. So that's a key. I wouldn't mind betting that will get hit overnight, and we might find we come back to our screens with it at these higher levels tomorrow anyway. We have got some Japanese data economy sentiment overnight, and current account 10 to 1. That if they come in with a good current account number, that could have quite a dramatic effect on the yen. That could really strengthen the yen up. So I'll be interested to see what happens on that. Let's just do the pound yen. Again, nice clean charts. 10 o'clock move again, just like the pound yen. Bottom of the range got bought at 105, and that hit 180. So an 80 pips available on that one. Notice the gap up on Sunday. Talked about gaps a lot last week and on the weekend video. So we've gapped up. There's the gap. Filled it overnight and gone back to the high. So we've got a breakout at 10 and a retest at the London close of this range. So if I take all that mess off and just range the high and overnight low, you will note that at 10.25 we closed above this range and then ran, and unfortunately we didn't get a pullback, a proper pullback of the 200. So watch these gaps, concentrate on the gaps, because they are, and markets love to have markers laid down, and these gaps are markers, and the big money places orders around these markers. Right, so 131, 120 is a potential buy area for the pound tomorrow. So I'll be looking to see how the market reacts around that. Does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody trade any currencies? I know you all trade, you just need to short the DAX. Anybody trade any currencies today? So this 120, 130 area picks up. You think the DAX is going to 942? Okay, I'll pick up on that in a minute. So 128, 115, there's 115. I think that if the 100, 115 gets hit tomorrow, I will be a buyer of that. Okay, well that's, so we've done the, let's mark this one up for tomorrow. So we should get a good trade tomorrow. On the data front, the key, we've got some UK data at 9:30, which is the only main data of the week tomorrow at 9:30. And then Wednesday, we've got Fed minutes at 7 o'clock UK time. So I think Wednesday might be a bit slow, but we should get some good moves tomorrow. I'm just going to look at your DAX target entry, or target anyway, in a minute. Just make sure I've done all these charts. Right, I've done all that. Okay, let me save that. Make sure I don't lose anything. Let's go back to this DAX. Boring after a late night, okay. You've been partying. Yeah, okay, I get where you're coming from. Yeah. So you're looking for a retest of tomorrow's low, which will be a retest of Friday's low for a potential next leg up. Yeah. So there's, if I take that fibs away, there's you've got a trend line coming up in DAX. If I channel that, that will take us up to 13,000 if that channel works. Okay, so we are organized for tomorrow. DAX and pound look like good targets. I think what I'll probably do is look at the pound early on, obviously mark up both, and look to trade the pound early on and see if we can get some movement out of that. Okay, so I think my message to you for Traders Roundtable tonight is keep your eyes out on the anchor. Make sure you're very clear about what the anchor chart's doing. Keep an eye out for this Sunday open range that can give you a very, very good indication of what to expect for the rest of the week. And the low of that range on this DAX is 930, 925, 930. So if we get one, that will be good. If we got some selling into the open and we saw 925 tomorrow, I would wait for a close above 925 and then take it. Otherwise, the more logical place is 905. So assuming today's low gives way, then I think we could see 905, 925, and at that point we might find the buyers coming in on those levels. Bear in mind what I've just said to you about the daily on this one. The daily is high, and I think needs a deeper pullback to get the volume back into it. So this 905, 925 would make sense. Okay, but otherwise my focus will be on these yen pairs. I hope these don't run overnight because they've got sort of a look. You know, they've done quite well today, so I hope that data tonight doesn't send them scurrying up and leave us with nothing to trade, or certainly no trades in these markets tomorrow. Okay, so I have been, while we've been talking, prior to opening the room, just jotting down all these levels we're talking about. But I think, so if the yen pairs run, I will definitely look for a buy in this one. If you look at the 60-minute anchor chart in this one, so we pushed up at 10 o'clock and then into the London close, came right back into this zone, the fib zone at 900, and here we are 50 pips higher. So it's good just to study one or two charts and then alarm these levels or jot them down and just watch, look out for these levels. All right. I think unless you've got some other, anybody got any questions? Otherwise, I think I will leave it there and just hope we can get some good moves tomorrow. Okay. So yeah, like I said, we've covered the use of anchor charts. Keep your focusing on key pivots in the anchor charts, and gaps. Gaps are really, really important. They can act as real sort of markers that will potentially give you an entry or an exit, depending on obviously what happens when you come into the market. So previous day closes can be either an entry or a target for a move. Okay. And the Sunday open is just a good overall trend indicator. So I've got all these Sunday levels marked so I can talk to you about the potential trends for the rest of the week. But although I have called, so at the moment we're looking for potential push, some much higher level in this pound US for the first half of the week. By the time we get to just past midway at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, we've then got Fed notes that might sort of give a little bit of oomph behind the dollar. Okay, but US jobs was pretty lukewarm last Friday. Everything had been priced in by the time we opened the room and started looking at the markets in on Friday. Non-farm payrolls all pretty much priced in. The only thing I did do, as I showed you on the weekend video, was buy this euro into the Friday close really, once all the mess was out of the way. So we had, for example, this was the non-farm payroll bar. So we had a low of 668 and a high of 705. And then we just got this buy pattern here, little trend line, intraday trend line from 5 o'clock lows to 8:30 lows. That turned out to be the 3 o'clock low, which took us for a move into London close for the week. And so far we've come along today and just seen that ball. All right, so I hope that helps, and just clarifying some ways in which you can pick up on the key levels in the markets using gaps, previous day's action, and so on. All right, okay, no more questions coming in, so good session, and let's get scalping tomorrow. Okay, so I'll be all ready to go at 10 to 8 tomorrow morning UK time, and hope to see you all in there tomorrow. Okay, bye for now, see you then.